Hi everyone, it's Sue Plumb here to share another scrapbook process video with you. Today's layout that I am sharing was created for the Cocoa Vanilla Studio design team, and I actually created this layout for our August monthly challenge. You can see the mood board in the corner of the screen there. So this mood board was actually designed by yours truly. And I called this mood board Life is a Canvas because it features a quote on there that says, "Life is a blank canvas. You need to throw all the paint on it you can." And I think that's a pretty cool motto to live by myself. So anyway, this mood board inspired me in a few different ways. Naturally, I was inspired by the quote, not only sort of for the theme of my page, and I did include the quote on my page, but it also inspired me to create something that was mixed media so I could use up some of my art supplies. And the photo that I was documenting was actually a photo of my daughter that was taken by a friend of ours who's actually a photographer. And when she took this photo, Brielle actually had, paint sort of smeared all over her face. And I thought that would work really well with the theme of this page. So I started off this layout with some distress oxides. Now, I was guided by my colour choice by the colours of the paint that was on my daughter's face. She had blue, yellow and red paint on her face, and I sort of did a little bit of a twist on that. So I used blue, pink and yellow because I'm not a massive fan of a primary colour scheme. I just find it, not my jam. So I did, as I said, I did a little bit of a twist and I went with a blue, pink and yellow. So the three colours I was working with were Faded Jeans, which is one of my all-time favourite colours. The yellow is Mustard Seed, and the pink that I was using was Worn Lipstick. So you can see I've started off with a sheet of white cardstock there, and I really just wanted to get a messy background going. I just wanted to build up a big mixed media background for this one. So I smeared my Distress Oxides pad onto my messy mat, just spritzed it with a bit of water, mixed it up with my finger, and then I laid my cardstock down over the top and just used the heel of my hand just to smear the paint around underneath, and then the cardstock obviously picked up the colour. Now, doing this, you don't really have, I do put it on the messy mat with a little bit of purpose in terms of thinking where it might end up on the page, but you don't really have that much control over it when you do it this way. And frankly, I like the challenge of doing it this way. I actually like the fact that the colour can end up anywhere on the page, and then I sort of design my page after that. So I did it first with the Faded Jeans Distress Oxide so I could get the blue going on the page. That's where that big blue sort of splotch came from. I moved the cardstock around a little bit just to sort of pick up some colour in some other areas. Once I had that down and it was dry, I then went in with the Worn Lipstick Distress Oxide, and I actually used the packaging technique for this one because I wanted to have a little bit more control over the placement. I wanted to layer that pink over the top of the blue, but not everywhere. I just wanted it in a couple of select areas over the blue, and then I wanted to put some of the pink into that area that didn't really have much colour on the page. Once I had those two colours in place, I then went in with the Mustard Seed Distress Oxide, which again, I sort of smeared on my messy mat. I spritzed it with some water. I mixed it up with a paintbrush, and then I used that to splatter on the page. Now, once I had those three layers down, you can see I'm already racing ahead in my video here, but I will talk you through what I've done. The next thing I did was I went in with the Faded Jeans Distress Oxide again, and I actually went in with a stencil. Now, this is a really old stencil from my stash, and I believe it was a Dusty Attic stencil, and it just features some sort of paint splotches on it. It's also got a little bit of a grid pattern on it, and I really just wanted something that looked a bit arty to sort of fade in the background. Now, what I did was I actually applied the oxide this time with a makeup sponge, a foam makeup sponge, and you can see the difference in the colour of the oxide that I first applied to the page that was really watered down and smeared onto the page as opposed to when I used the Faded Jeans Distress Oxide straight off the pad and then sponged through a stencil. Now, they look like completely different colours close up like that, but they are actually the same shade. Now, once I had that in place, my next step was I wanted to draw in, there is an image of some coloured bricks on the board, and I wanted to pull in the bricks from the board and put them on the background somewhere. So I've got a really cool rubber stamp that's got that brick pattern on it, which is actually from Viva Las Vegas Stamps. I just grabbed some black StazOn ink and I just stamped around the area where I knew my photo was going to be placed, so that it gave me some extra layers in behind the photo. Now, there's one sort of white elephant going on here that I haven't spoken about at all, and that is the cut file. Now, I don't tend to use a lot of cut files because I don't like things that are too structured. And when I do use cut files, I don't tend to use them in the way that I see many people using them, which is to back the file and use them as the sort of feature of their page. I really honestly don't have the dexterity or the patience for backing cut files. I've tried, but it's not really my jam. So the way that I use cut files is I tend to use them as a layer on my page somewhere. Now, this cut file that I am using was actually from Cut to You, but I didn't use, and I will put a link to the file down below, the one that I've used. I didn't use the entire file for this page because I really wanted those big, I wanted the brushes from the file and I wanted them big on the page because, you know, I again wanted to tie in with that, you know, theme of a blank canvas and artistic and so forth. So I actually enlarged the cut file on my screen, traced out the part of it that I wanted, blew it up even bigger, and then that's what I cut so that I got the tips of those 3 paint brushes. Now you can see that I decided to run them, excuse me, horizontally across my page. I sort of wanted them coming out from behind the photo and layering over that mixed media background. I cut them just with a plain white cardstock, and my intention was to keep them white because I didn't want to overwhelm my photo. I still wanted my photo to be the most prominent thing on the page. And as I said, I just wanted them as an extra layer behind my photo and to pull in that artistic theme. You will see that I end up making a little bit of a feature out of them later on in the video, and I'll explain what I did when we get to it. Now, in terms of the Cocoa Vanilla Studio supplies that I was using, when I looked at this board and all of the jewel tones of a lot of the images that I chose for this board, it made me think of one collection immediately. And that's a collection from quite some time ago that was called Wild at Heart. Now, Wild at Heart was full of, as I said, beautiful, rich jewel tones. And given the theme of this collection, which was all about being yourself and being true to yourself, a lot of that sort of theme ran through this collection. I thought it would tie in really well with the theme of this board. So I chose a couple of pattern papers from the collection. Now, I don't have this entire collection left because, as I said, it was from some time ago, but I did have a number of papers and quite a few embellishments, and it was really fun to pull out something old and play with it again. So the pattern papers that I chose, one had like a marble type print on it, and the colours actually tied in beautifully with the colours that I had used on my background. So I cut a piece of that to use as my photo mat. You can see that I cut around 3 edges and I tore across the bottom edge. In my layers there, I also tucked in a pink paper doily from my stash. I am also going to add some frayed gauze just to bring some texture to my page. And you'll see that I stack all of those layers up and then I staple it down onto my page using my long-armed stapler. Now, the other pattern paper that I'm working with there is that one that's got that sort of, I want to say the word tribal because it kind of, it says sort of tribal to me. It's got that chevron print on there that's made up of all of those little marks, and it's got a whole variety of colours in it. Now, I didn't have much of this paper left because I absolutely adored this chevron print, but I wanted to fussy cut a little bit of what I did have left so I could use those chevrons I wanted them to run horizontally sort of across the page and to help draw the eye across towards where those paintbrushes were sitting on the page. It's just it just helped to sort of build the flow of my page, moving from left to right. So that initially, when your eye looked at the page, you looked at the photo on the left side, and then your eye was naturally drawn across to the right to see the title, because that's where it was going to end up, and also to see, you know, all of the other bits and pieces that I had going on the right-hand side of the page. So I hope you followed all of that, but that's just a little bit of how, you know, my mind works behind my layouts. Okay, so I had those layers down on the page. As I said, the pattern paper, you can see where I've tucked some of those fussy cut pieces of the paper with the chevron print on them. I've got a couple layered sort of down underneath my photo, and then I've got that other sort of simpler one, which is just the black and white one that I actually ended up layering underneath the cut file, because I didn't want it going over the top of the cut file. I didn't want to overwhelm those brush tips. Now, once I had those layers down behind my photo, I added some scrap cardboard to the back of my photo to help pop it up from the page a bit. And then I needed to start embellishing around my photo. Now, one of the other pattern papers that I had left from this collection was actually one of the floral papers, and it has a black background. So I knew that when I fussy cut around the flowers that I actually end up with that black outline, because I wanted something dark to tie in with my daughter's black t-shirt. So I fussy cut a couple of pieces of that floral paper, and I've tucked one in above the photo and I've tucked one in below the photo. And then what I've done is, because I knew my title was going to go to the right of my photo, that sort of completed my visual triangle. So I had something above the photo, below, and to the right. And if you join those 3 points together, you can see that they form that visual triangle around the focal area of my page, which of course is the photo of my daughter. Now, I used the new foam title stickers from the brand new These Days collection for my title, for the word life. I absolutely adore the font of these foam title stickers. It's really, really cute. I love a skinny font, and I love something that's got the serifs on it like this. So, you know, I thought that would work really well. It also helped give another dark element on the page. As I said, I needed to pull in that black from her t-shirt. Now, from the same pack, I actually used a few little foam leafy branches, which I've just poked out from sort of underneath where the flowers were on the page, just to help bring in something a bit extra black. Now, the other thing I did for my title was I had a pack of sort of these cute little alpha stickers. I think they're Rosie Studio. So I used that to finish off the first part of the quote, which is life is a blank canvas. That was basically my page title, but I wanted to finish the quote from the board. So I just typed it out on some scrap paper with my typewriter, cut it into a couple of strips, and I stuck that on the page as well. So I also ticked that off from the mood board. So you can see that I've pulled in a number of elements from the mood board. I've pulled in sort of the artistic element from the mood board with paint, although I did use Distress Oxides, but the same sort of thing. So I've got a painted background. I've used the quote. I used flowers. I used bricks. And I also pulled in, you can see those 3 butterflies there. They were fussy cut from a scrap of paper that I also had left from the Wild at Heart collection. And I've just placed 3 of those on my page as well. Now, the only other things that I did to this page, I had some of the enamel dots left from this collection, and they are like sparkly enamel dots, and they're really cute. Admittedly, I only had mostly the larger ones left, but I figured why not? They're just sitting there in my stash, and we need to use these things up, right? So you can see that I do add some enamel dots to this page. And in the top left corner of my photo there, you can see I've just added a couple of stickers layered over that top corner, because I do love sticking things onto my photo. Now, this is where I made those brush tips a feature. I took the 3 Distress Oxides that I had used in the beginning for my background. I took a water brush and I simply picked up a little bit of pigment from that ink pad, and I just brushed it onto the tip of those 3 paint brushes just to help tie them into the background and, of course, make them look more like paintbrushes. And that was it. Now, you can join in on this challenge via the Cocoa Vanilla Studio community group. I'll put the link down below. I would love to see your take on my mood board. I thought this was a really fun board, lots of good colour in there, lots of elements to draw on, so make sure you enter. Thanks for watching today. I'll see you next time. Bye. If you have any questions, just pop them in the comments section below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks for watching.